you are now in a position where you are legitimately a successful black man, successful African. This is now your livelihood. Does it ever concern you that there may be things that you shouldn't discuss? Like if there's red tape, like this may not piss off the brands or my connects. Is there any things that you just be like, okay, I may leave it now that I've moved to another place where this is my plate. I am being paid for kind of like who I am.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever have to?
I think when I first started out, there was a lot of that, you know what I mean? Like even talking about being Muslim, black, you know, being from London, a lot of things was kind of like, you were very sensitive. But it's weird. I think one of the things I've been fortunate enough to do is I can intuitively kind of sense what the trend of the culture is, or like what the conversation is like amongst the community. And what I found is that at first, where I felt like when I first started, I had to be sensitive towards these stuff. Progressively, I'm fortunate that I live in the time and I have a career in the time that the world has started to move, where they've started to embrace people more who have different ideologies, you know what I mean? Or people who have different identities and people who embrace identities. So maybe because it drives a new cycle that controversy sells, but right now you're not in as much of a position to get attacked or chastised for saying something which is about your identity or representing the community you're from as you would before, you know what I mean? People are less likely to dissociate themselves to you because they're like, you know what? That's what he speaks about. That's what connects with his audience online. We just want to leverage his relationship with that audience. So if that's who he is, we're willing to accept that to an extent. You know, obviously there's some like, you know what I mean? Like and people have experienced the backlash. I don't think it's like you've seen people experience the backlash on a public level. But I feel like there's certain views, if we're being real, there's certain views like everybody has to be like, because I say to people, listen, when you're online, you need to acknowledge, there's two layers to being like to being a public figure, or two layers, not even to being a public figure, to being like a person, you know, or speaking to public. If I'm speaking to you, there's certain ways I'm going to say certain things to you. That's going to be different to how I'm going to say it to my wife at home, who knows me and has an intimate understanding of my entirety. And I feel like a lot of people go into online and present that me and my wife relationship as opposed to that me and you, because there's certain things that may offend you if you don't know me. Do you understand? Right. So I make sure that I articulate them and I say them respectfully, as opposed to if I was with my wife and I'll just be like, oh, you know, I hate people who like Marmite, but she knows I don't hate them. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if I was saying to you, I'd have to take into consideration that why do you like it? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I feel like that's so what I've discovered is that although I don't have to talk about certain subject matters, there's certain things you have to be sensitive about, you know what I mean? But I'm at the point where if something is true to me, I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not one of the people that's going to shy away from retweeting something because it's possibly about this or possibly about that. That's what I believe, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, and maybe it's because I'm successful and I don't need to be as sensitive, but at the end of the day, it's like, everything you have around you, it means nothing if you don't stand for something. Do you understand? If people can't look at you and be like, oh, this is my guy, this is what he's about, you understand? It doesn't mean anything. And all the figures I've admired throughout time have stood for something. Whether it's controversial or not, they've stood for something. So for me, I feel like that's my responsibility.